Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Ev, and today I'm going to be starting a new series. I am going to be calling this series my open journal, where I kind of just share my revelations and enlightenment, all the things that I found out about myself and have written down. Sometimes it's digital, sometimes it's actually writing it out, but I did not just want to keep it on the page for myself. I also wanted to share with you guys, giving you guys a peek into my internal world and my inner thoughts, I think might help some of you guys. And that's it. That's the only reason I wanted to start this. It's not just for wisdom to stay locked up on the page, but for you to share it and hopefully someone else benefits from it. So today I'm going to be sharing 20 lessons that I learned in my 20s. And you guys know I'm 33 now. I've had enough time to reflect and actually think that these things are solid and they stick. But, take everything with a grain of salt. If it applies to you, good. If not, also good. The first lesson is to make room for all sides of yourself. I know for me, I would villainize how sensitive I was at certain times in my life because I felt like the world villainized sensitivity, and so it must be a bad thing that I need to escape from. But you can't actually outrun yourself, and instead of making war with your weaknesses, try to make friends with your strengths. If you are sensitive, if you are quiet, if you are an introvert, make room. Don't try to push out that side of you because that's probably where your superpowers are. 2, you are not stuck. I remember feeling like I was always stuck in life. I don't know why or where I got that from. Maybe after getting diagnosed with my eye condition, I felt like the 4 walls were closing in. But you are not stuck. You have plenty of options. And I know it's easy to kind of downward spiral and go into how little options you might perceive that you have. But there's so many other things that'll open up for you if your perspective changes. 3, you do not need to have everything figured out right now. I know I felt a lot of pressure from myself, from the external world, I guess, friends and family, but also from myself to have a plan and figure it out and move forward and execute and take action and make myself highly productive. It was a lot of internalized conditioning that I had to undo in therapy. But for me, I don't need an entire blueprint right now. I wish I had all the details. I don't. If being a millennial and living through 2 recessions and an entire pandemic has taught me anything, is that you actually don't know what's around the corner. So you don't have to have it all figured out. So don't tie yourself up mentally trying to. The 4th thing is from 20 to 30, I found myself finding myself. Like that was that 10-year journey. I'm glad that I went through the transformation and got more enlightenment and matured and grew, especially emotionally, because I think it led to a lot more stability in making decisions for my future. But that is the time, that decade of your life, to do the cringe thing. Even if people look at you and say, oh my God, she's so embarrassing, or oh my God, I can't believe he did that. The point is for you to find out more about you, not to care so much about the judgments of others. So do the cringe thing because it might just work out for you like some random YouTube channel. Also, side note, sorry about the lighting. I am dependent on the sun, so you will probably see it keep going in and out throughout the video. Number 5 is to journal your thoughts, journal your internal world and your inner thoughts so you can look back on these pages and realize how much you've grown. I know sometimes even with hair journeys, when you're in it, you feel like you're not growing and you're not making progress, but I'm going back to journals that I've had from 2-3 years ago, and I can definitely tell where my head was at the time is not where my head is at now. So keeping track of how much you've grown internally definitely helps you keep making progress. I've never really struggled with this one, but I learned by taking action. Some people have alternative learning styles, but mine is definitely action-based, hands-on. I'll adjust and adapt as I'm going through it. And you guys have seen me start up a lot of different things, but it takes form as you go along. Some stuff is only going to pop up in the process. One of the actions that you can take today is by going and getting a support system or getting help. Thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring today's video. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service and is 100% online. You can tap into a network of over 25,000 therapists that can help you with a wide range of issues. To get started, all you have to do is answer a few questions about your needs and preferences in therapy, so then BetterHelp can match you with the best therapist in their network. Then you can reach out however you feel comfortable, whether that be through text, chat, phone or video calls, and you can message your therapist and schedule live sessions at any point at your earliest convenience, so you can work around your schedule. If your initial match doesn't work out with your therapist, you can switch to a different therapist with no additional charge. With BetterHelp, you have someone that is the same quality as an in-office session, but you can have the convenience of doing it on your time. So there's more flexibility. This person is custom picked for you, and it is at a more affordable rate. So if you are interested in taking action and building a healthier internal world today, you can get 10% off your first month by clicking the link down below in the description box. It is betterhelp.com. That is betterhelp.com/Ebony. Again, for 10% off your first month. As we age, it's very normal for us to outgrow people. It can be a very uncomfortable feeling knowing that a relationship or a connection is ending, but understand that in your 20s especially, that friendship breakups and endings are normal. This one also sounds really simple, but I don't think I started doing it until much later in life, and it's because I would justify myself out of my inner voice. But listen to your inner voice. It is very important. I think your body knows, your subconscious knows, your inner compass, where you should go, what lessons you need to learn. So individuate and make sure that you are on your own path and listening to your internal compass, because that's what's going to guide you to what's best for you. This next one I know can be very difficult, but I invite you to try and use social media as a tool and not let social media use you. I've heard once that even though it might have started off as a community-based app or community-based social apps, it's not really connecting us to each other. It's more so connecting businesses to customers now, and you don't want to just be on there advertised to all the time. So be sure to use social media as a tool. If you're using it to connect and network, I think it can be great, but don't let it start using you. It is a fine line. Number 10, this one took me a while to kind of deconstruct, but it does resonate a lot more with me now that I'm older, is that there's more than one way forward. I think when I was younger, I liked the idea of black and white, good and bad, left and right, like there's definitive lines for things. But life is so much more complicated than that, and there's so much more nuance that you can dive into. So give yourself grace and give other people grace as we all progress through life, and understand that your one way is not the only way. The next thing I learned is probably advice that I would give my younger self, but get healing. The sooner, the earlier, the better. There is some kind of childhood trauma, little t or big T, that I'm sure you've gone through by now. And I feel like you don't have to live out of your emotional wounds. I made a lot of decisions from a place of deficit, and that did not have to be the case. I think had I healed up earlier, I would have been at a much different place than I am now. I mean, you get it when you're meant to get it, and it's all good. But if you can get it earlier, do that. Something else I think is super beneficial for life is being able to recognize your own patterns. Getting that higher level of self-awareness is essential. And I know it's easier to recognize other people's patterns, but maybe surround yourself with people who can be your mirror, or go out and get professional help, like with therapy. But understand that your patterns are what's going to help facilitate a better and more authentic relationship with you. So don't just see everybody else. Look at you. And something that can accompany you recognizing your own patterns is learning to discern between the voices in your head. I don't know if in other people's heads there's only one solid voice. In my head, there's like about 3. So learn what is your voice and what is that authentic inner voice versus what is the things that people have told you that are just chatter in the background. I know it can be really hard, especially in your 20s, trying to discern, because discernment is something that you get as you get older. But if you can go through life experiences and understand what you did follow and what you didn't follow, again, going back to those patterns, then you'll start to recognize what is more authentic and what is more congruent with who you are. Number 14 is change your internal narrative. We all tell ourselves stories about who we are in our heads all day long, every day. As those patterns repeat, or those mind frames repeat, it starts to form our personalities. It is never too late to change your internal narrative to something that is more in alignment with who you are right now, because that's what's going to take you into the next phase, into the next chapter. If you are on a healing journey, I would suggest getting a support system because I found that healing comes through community and not through isolation. Isolation actually can make it worse sometimes. And I know this kind of depends on what part of the healing journey you're on, but I would recommend finding other people who have gone through what you've gone through, because having someone there that knows what you're going through is part of the healing process. If you are making any kind of changes, you want to make sure that you set boundaries and stand firm in them. Do not keep going back and forth, thinking, oh, well, I can make an exception for this one person. How you do one thing is how you do everything. So stand firm in who you are. It reinforces the person that you are becoming, and it helps you not digress into the person that you used to be. Looking back into my 20s, and all of the major changes that I've ever made were usually initiated by some kind of adverse event or negative experience or trauma, big T or little t. And in that case, I had trauma-fueled motivation or momentum to get me off the ground and start something new. But understand that that does have an expiration date, and eventually you will need to heal in order to move forward. It's much more sustainable to heal up and progress in a way that is authentic to you. Number 18, you will have to update your belief system, communication style, and defense mechanisms. Now, this is where therapy really comes to dig up some dirt, and you have to figure out what is and is not working for you. Take inventory of your emotional self. But understand that as you get older, things will continue to shift and change, and so all of that internal work needs to be upgraded. If I could go back and tell my 20 to 30-year-old self something really important, is that romantic relationships are not king. I think I spent a lot of my time putting my energy and life force into romantic connections, but that was only the external symptom of a lot of internal things that were going on with me. So deconstruct why you want a romantic relationship, if you're using it for escapism, like me, or if you have other issues that need to be taken care of, but redirect your energy into yourself, invest in yourself. And finally, you do not need to abandon yourself or shrink yourself in order to make other people comfortable. If you have codependent or people-pleasing tendencies like me, then you probably are going to resonate with this one a lot. I know I spent a lot of my 20s abandoning and shrinking myself for other people's comfort. No one benefits from complete selflessness. It's not realistic. You have needs and you need to express them, and you do not need to leave them behind for somebody else's convenience. Those are 20 lessons that I learned from my 20s. I hope this list was helpful. If it was, let me know down below. So again, welcome to my open journal. I hope this video was helpful and beneficial for someone out there. If it was, comment down below and leave some wisdom that you would like to share with people from your 20s. I'm interested to know if you've come to the same conclusions that I did from 20 to 30. And if you're in any other phase of life, anytime you learn something new that could be enlightening for someone else, I'm all ears.